unlike some people that have been reviewing this week's chapter of My Hero Academia, I actually like this chapter quite a lot actually. I really enjoyed reading this chapter through and through. There was really no point in the chapter where I thought, you know, this is not for me. I thought it was perfectly fine all the way from page 1 to the final page. Nothing really stood out in a negative way in my opinion. A lot of people have been complaining about Gentle's power, and obviously some people have been complaining about the fact that Deku said that this is the toughest battle he's ever fought. Now, last week I did have quite a negative review, and I want to apologize for that because I wasn't exactly myself. I was kind of sick, and when I get sick I get a bit, well, let's just say I get a different personality, so to speak. I have very different views on things. So now I'm gonna be doing a review very honestly. Like, this is gonna be like my normal reviews, you know. I'm gonna talk about what I liked and probably if I disliked something, but I can assure you there's not gonna be any disliking factors in this chapter because I really thought everything was spot on, honestly. And I want to begin with the whole thing regarding La Brava, so we have that out of the way. I think La Brava in this week's chapter actually, she showed an interesting side, which was that she can't really survive without Gentle, which kind of, when you go back looking at her backstory, it kind of makes sense because before she met Gentle, she was contemplating to commit suicide, and she said now that if Gentle isn't around, I'll die, which makes her backstory and her character very consistent in my opinion. And she was very desperate in this chapter, wanting to make sure that the UA Academy's security system was down. You know, she wanted to get ahead of Gentle, hoping that Gentle would win, of course, and then when Gentle was done, then the security would already be down and they could continue on with their goal. But as it turns out, you know, the heroes of the UA Academy have already gotten wind of what's going on. We see Hound Dog and we see Ectoplasm coming towards Deku and Gentle. Now, they hadn't really spotted this fight yet, but they were on the way, and obviously La Brava is extremely worried about this. She tails back to Gentle and stuff like that. Nothing really unexpected, I guess. You know, it was fairly expected that she would return to Gentle after seeing the heroes approach. I mean, she probably didn't want to get spotted herself, so that's why she went back. You know, she wanted to increase the odds that she herself would also be in good hands. You know, she doesn't want to be arrested. And next thing that I really feel like I should talk about is, of course, the whole thing with Deku saying that this is the toughest battle he's ever fought, because a lot of people might be confused with Deku saying Gentle is the toughest opponent Deku's ever fought, and that's not what he's saying. He's saying this is the toughest battle he's ever fought. It's a very big difference between the toughest battle and the toughest opponent, mind you, because the toughest battle could be with anyone. It's got to do with the quirk he's facing and the environment that they're fighting in and stuff like that. You know, in this fight we saw a civilian being involved. We saw how Deku had to adapt with this new quirk of Gentle's. He had to learn how to use his own quirk in new ways that he hadn't really used them before. Like, he wanted to use this gauntlet for the first time because he hadn't really been using it up until now, so he had to improvise a lot in this fight, giving Deku some disadvantages, you know, right off the bat. Whereas Gentle, he was kind of at the top of his game. Now, Gentle isn't really the toughest opponent that Deku's ever fought. I mean, we've seen numerous opponents that would just smack Gentle so hard. But, so I just wanted to address that. Like, people seem to think that he's saying that Gentle is the strongest opponent he's ever fought, but that's not really the case. I mean, we've seen so many people that are way ahead of Deku in terms of ability, but when it comes to the toughest fight, I can absolutely see what Deku's talking about, because, first of all, Gentle wasn't fighting alone. He was being powered up by La Brava, meaning that, of course, his power would be above his norm. You know, Gentle was ahead of what he was supposed to be during the later half of the fight. And seeing as they were fighting in a location where there could be a lot of people, they have to make sure that no one gets involved, and one person did get involved, the guy near the construction site. So Deku obviously had to make sure that that guy was in safe hands while he was dealing with Gentle. Now, Gentle didn't really plan to hurt this person, but Deku didn't know that. We have to understand this. Deku didn't really understand that Gentle wasn't going to be doing that. Even if Gentle planned to make sure that that steel beam were to just go back to its original position, Deku could not possibly take that risk. He had to make sure that the civilian was safe. So it's not just them clashing that you have to consider, it's everything that goes on in the fight altogether, meaning that, yes, it's probably one of the toughest battles that Deku's ever had to fight so far, but Gentle is not the strongest opponent he's ever faced. Gentle also mentioned something really interesting in this chapter, which was, why do you want to become a hero? That's what he asked Deku, and Deku kinda had his whole flashback going on, you know, with his mother, you know, the whole thing when All Might originally told him he could become a hero. Because Gentle, he has something in common with Deku, which is that at one point, he was told he couldn't exactly be a hero. He was kicked out of his hero school, whereas Deku was born without a quirk, meaning he was told he couldn't become a hero until All Might came along, of course. And that kind of puts them on the same level when it comes to that, because Gentle probably doesn't know that. I mean, he obviously doesn't know that Deku used to be quirkless, and Deku doesn't know the full story behind Gentle. So they have to kind of meet halfway in a sense. They don't really know each other's history all the way through. And we as readers, we know that Deku, he has been through some hardships. We did see recently that Gentle also have been through some hardships. He was kicked out of his school. He did some mistakes in his life that made his mother and father kind of not see eye to eye with him and stuff like that. And when it comes to me personally, you know, when you use backstory in a chapter, for me, that's kind of my weak spot. You know, I really like backstory, even if it's like backstory that we have seen before, in a sense. That yes, the fact that he can use backstory so elegantly is something that gets to me pretty much all the time. And that's why I really like this whole thing with Gentle and Deku this chapter, because we see how they're both kind of similar, but we see it in such a good way. It's not just them saying that, okay, I was rejected from my hero school, or in Deku's case, I was told I couldn't become a hero because I didn't have a quirk. We actually get to see this whole thing where they look back at their lives while they're actually fighting. Now, the last thing that I'm really going to talk about is the ending of the chapter when Hound Dog and Ectoplasm actually arrive at this scene where Gentle is. Gentle does something really interesting, which is that he throws Deku into the air and he makes sure that he stays up in the air by applying some elasticity to the air underneath Deku, meaning he can't fall back down, and he surrenders to the UA Academy. Now, this is something that I really found interesting, because he doesn't want La Brava to become part of this punishment. He doesn't want La Brava to become an accomplice of what Gentle has been doing, and I find this to be very interesting. And I'm really curious, because when you look at it, she's been helping him for a while, and they already know that Gentle and La Brava are criminals. So I'm really curious how they're gonna handle the punishment of La Brava. I mean, obviously Gentle is probably gonna be given a pretty rough punishment, but I don't know if they can really do that with La Brava, because La Brava isn't really confirmed to be part of their whole thing. And also, the fact that he surrendered was because he didn't want La Brava to be alone, because La Brava did mention that if she's alone, she'll pretty much kill herself, she'll die. So I really hope that he has a plan. I hope that he intends, or has an idea in his head at least, of how it's gonna go down. Like, okay, it's gonna go down this way we'll both be given a punishment, but it's not really going to be a really bad punishment. It's going to be comparatively good compared to what we would have to endure if we had resisted, because they are surrendering, mind you. They haven't been forcefully arrested. They are in fact surrendering out of their own free will, while Gentle is, and obviously La Brava is kind of just playing along, I guess. So I think it's safe to assume that we're not really going to be seeing Gentle and La Brava at the Culture Festival. I think it's safe to guess that the festival is gonna be taking place, it's gonna be as it was planned, and nothing is gonna happen, which I find to be a bit of a bummer, because I kind of wanted Gentle and La Brava to have some kind of role in Aries smiling, but at the same time I'm sure the festival itself can provide that in some way, be it Deku's play or some other event at the festival, you know, something that will really make Eri light up, and hopefully that will actually make a smile on her face. I don't really think it's gonna be like a massive smile. I don't think she's gonna burst out laughing or anything. I think because of the fact that she's had such a dark past, a dark childhood, it's gonna be a very faint smile, but you know, that is gonna be a very good step in the right direction. Anyway, I'm gonna end the review here. I'd love to know what you guys think about chapter 180 of My Hero Academia. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? You know, some people have been saying they don't like the chapter, some like it. I like it personally, as I've obviously been kind of hinting this whole review. But yeah, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everyone, Toga is waifu, Toga is Laifu.